My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Cyber Incident Response Planning, Building Resilience for Small Businesses, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Save the date for our next cybersecurity webinar, Navigating Cybersecurity Compliance, on April 25th. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Quiana Gainey. Quiana is a 20-plus year IT and cybersecurity industry veteran and has served as Chief Executive Officer for SecureTech 360, located in Springfield, Virginia, since its inception in 2010. She is also the Cyber Industry Specialist for the Virginia SBDC. Welcome, Quiana.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar. I'll be your host for the session. Today, we're here to address a critical issue facing small businesses worldwide in cybersecurity. So we have some great content that I want to get right to. Next slide. So today we'll just talk about, one of the best tools that you can use when you're dealing with incident response is to create a plan. And then we'll go over some ways on how you can protect your business. And then we'll cover some best practices, give you some resources, and with some questions. And I'll leave you some wonderful contact information if you want to keep the conversation going. Next slide. So again, we'll just talk about how to set up an incident response plan and give you some best practices that you can implement in your small business. So what may be a question in your mind right now is, what is a cyber incident response plan? Well, I'm glad you asked. An incident response plan is just a set of tools and procedures that will help you or your security team. If you're a party of one, you may be your own security team. That's happened. I'm a small business owner, so I understand. Sometimes I wear many hats. So I'm the security team, I'm the CEO. Sometimes, depending, I may even be a therapist some days, depending on what's going on. So we'll use the incident response plan as a way of tools and procedures that can help you, one, identify, also eliminate and recover from these ever-growing cybersecurity threats. Now, you may ask yourself as a small business owner, what cyber threats do I have? Well, regardless of your size, the threats are imminent and they're coming every day. With the innovation that's happening, cybersecurity has become a great way to be able to be preventive versus being reactive, right? And so this incident response plan will help you be able to, one, identify what things you need to protect, how to eliminate, and how to recover quickly if there is an incident. It's designed to help you respond quickly and also be able to have a way to, tackle any external and internal threats. Next slide. So there are several phases when you're thinking about incident management. So before we dive right into the plan, there's a preparation phase, right? The preparation phase is what you're doing today. You're coming to a webinar, you're gathering information, you're going to get some resources, and then you'll be able to, put that information into practice so that you know what to do on the proactive side. And then once something happens, that's when the detection happens. So if you have things in place like a firewall or things that will give you alerts, if you have like a security system, they can detect something that's either someone, is at your building or something's happening. That's what usually a detection means. And then if something happens, you have what they consider the containment phase. The containment phase is you don't want it to spread widely. So it may be something as simple as if you have some things already in place, you will call up maybe a vendor, or you'll even put something out to your staff to say, If you're seeing this type of email, it is indeed a phishing attempt. Do not forward, do not send, do not open. And then maybe an opportunity to kind of re-educate your team as well. And eradication is the phase where if there is something, you can try to, contain it, but also fix it, and then go right into the recovery phase. If a fix is not, optimal, then there may be some other things that you can put into place, and maybe even some lessons learned that you can document, so that if something happens in the future, you and your team would also be, or yourself, you can be a party of one, will be prepared. And then there's always my favorite, which is the post-incident analysis. That's where you will give yourself an opportunity to look at what happened. Was there something that we could have prepared for more? Did we have the right detection mechanism in place? How fast did we contain it? Were we able to recover? If there was a recovery time, was it 48 hours? Was it 72 hours? Did we have to get other vendors involved? What did we have to do? So that will give you that analysis. So as you're putting together this wonderful plan, that will be something that you can use to be able to either implement new policies or procedures for your organization to see how you can be better prepared in the future. Next slide. So with all of that information that I just gave you, and I just gave you a whole bunch of information, the first burning question that I get from a lot of my small business owners is, how can I protect my business, right? We talked about it. You identify and you prioritize assets. So everything in your environment, I know we think everything is crucial, but this will give you an opportunity to really select those crucial data assets and ask the question, what will cause my business to go under or suffer heavy losses if this was stolen or damaged? Those will be most of your crucial data assets, or even any of your assets within your environment that you will need to be able to recover very quickly, because those recoveries should be very different from things that will be considered like maybe, not so critical. And then once you do that, you need to establish some procedures. This is something you can do. You don't have to be a security expert to do that. You can just hope that you don't get breached. But if you do get breached, it's always want to always side on the caution of being proactive than reactive. And those are some predefined practice procedures to follow, so that you can even do scenarios with your employees so they don't panic and make crucial mistakes that could be also costly to your organization. And then what to do, when to handle a breach, who to call, what resources are available, have those handy as well. I like to also print those out and have a physical copy versus just having a digital copy. So just in case if something goes down, there's an interruption in either your managed service provider, or you can't get to your email, or you can't get to your computer, if you have a handy copy of that physical copy, that can help you get the process started. And set up a response team. And that response team may just be maybe yourself and one other person that you can designate to coordinate actions in the discovery if there's a breach or if there's something to happen. And then also coordinate, maybe you have a different consultant or someone that can help you to be able to help the security while you're in the security incident. So you may, have like a cybersecurity company that you use, or you may have some other things in place that you can use to help you minimize impact and restore operations. And this is also crucial if you are using certain technologies. Find out what are their incident response as well. Read those privacy policies, read how they, handle your information. I know I've received them where I've had letters that said, hey, we are part of a data breach. These are the things that we have in place. That is usually as a result of them having an incident response plan, and then they're taking these steps to do that. So just like you are on the receiving end of that, you want to also be prepared to be that one if you had to send out a notice to anyone that was impacted by a breach. And then last but not least, this is the most effective weapon against incident response is employee training, right? We are only as good as our weakest link. Just having an incident response plan is helpful, but not, your employees not understanding that, one, there is a plan, and they're not properly trained on what to do when something goes wrong, or what are the steps to take. And even for yourself as a business owner, if you just, always believe in, writing something down, even if you add it to like your policies and procedures, your business plan, or if you have like a separate security plan, like what to do in the emergency. And last but not least, outside of the employee training, setting up a response team, establishing procedures, identifying, prioritizing assets. Make sure you test that response plan on at least an annual basis or whenever a significant change occurs. So if something happens within your organization, take that time to kind of walk yourself through, some lessons learned and do those tabletop exercises. Next slide. So let's give you some keys to success. Develop a recovery plan, and procedures will help with the support teams. Read your company business continuity plans. If you don't have one, develop one on what to do, in the event of an emergency or a data breach. Again, test and do security validations at the restore. So if you're backing up any of your data, testing those backups, you would be shocked how many times I've been in organizations working in the field, and they had backups. The backups were there physically. I can see the backups. And then when I go to recover, there are errors, there are issues, or maybe the last time there was a successful backup was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and they need something from the last 2 or 3 days or the last couple of hours. So make sure when you are setting up your backups, test them. Make sure that they are being done regularly, and then, test them to make sure that they can, help during a restore. And then perform periodic drills. I believe in that. As outside of training, doing the tabletops, you can do drills. I know when we were kids, they used to do the emergency drills or the fire drills when they, have the alarm going out and everybody meet at a certain location. Then you will designate a particular person to be able to give a head count to make sure everybody got out the building. And then, you will go back to the office once something was done. Very similar, in nature. We've been doing this since we were in elementary school. So it's the same type of practice when you're thinking about incident response for your organization. Keys for failure. Expecting your team to know how to recover, it's just common sense. I always like to believe that common sense is not so common, but educated sense is even better. So create a policy and procedure to help you. And then if there are areas where for myself, I always say that I'm not an accountant by trade. So I hire a CPA firm to help me with my numbers. So in areas where you need some assistance, don't be afraid to hire someone to help you be able to navigate or put these things together. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you a lot of resources where you can do some of this yourself and put together a draft. But if you need like some specialty, services, or you're like, I need some additional support with this, find a consultant that can specialize in your area of business expertise, and create a procedure. And creating a procedure and never testing it is also another key for failure. So we want to lean towards keys for success and not keys for failure. Next slide. So let's go right into some best practices. So we talked about, developing a plan, but make sure that plan is developed for your business, your size, and your resource. So there's not a one size fit all for just an incident response plan. Yes, there's some best practices that you can implement, but your business better than anyone else. Think about your size, think about your customer, think about the resources that you use, think about what's critical, what's not critical. Those are things that you can, take pen to paper to develop this wonderful plan. And then again, we talked about assigning, roles and responsibilities. And if you don't have your party of one, think about what you will do in the emergency and just kind of run yourself through some scenarios. Establish communication protocols for notifying stakeholders in the event of a cyber incident. And if there's something that you need to get the FBI involved, local authorities, establish a way to do that. Implementing regular training and drills to ensure all employees are familiar with their roles, if there are roles, before an incident happens. Prioritize what needs to, come up first in the event of an emergency that needs rapid detection or containment to minimize any damage or disruption to your organization. And this is regardless of the size. You're seeing, almost every week there's a different type of cyber, threat that's coming out and some type of interruption. I've heard, some folks that had like some cell phone disruption a few weeks ago. Social media has been disrupted. And you're starting to see different cyber attacks. So no one is immune, even regardless of your size. And even the big, larger companies who have all the resources and all the tools and all of these wonderful, automated mechanisms, the number one thing that they usually fail is employee training and their employees being victims of things like social engineering. So those are things that you can prevent regardless of your size. And then also, have a method to be able to preserve evidence in the event that you need to get like a forensic analysis or there's potential legal actions that happen. Make sure that you're doing those, steps to make sure that you're containing whatever evidence you may need in the event that it has to go into the authorities or it has to be escalated. And then, communication is key. Communicate with your customers, your partners, and your employees about the incident and steps being taken to mitigate it, right? I know for myself, when I'm doing business with someone and they're communicating to me what's happening in real time and then giving me updates, I feel very like I feel kind of that warm and fuzzy. So it's the same way, right? You want the same way for your customers to feel that that they know everything that's happening and how it's impacting them, and then taking steps to mitigate it. And you want to know, they want to know in real time or, just periodically what's happening. So keep the, communication open and be as transparent as possible. Also, when in doubt, I always believe in collaborating with industry peers. Like even today, you're coming out and you get information on how to put together this plan, how to keep your business resilient, what best practices to use. So, give yourself a pat on the back because that's the first step. And then, there's a lot of government support out there, government agencies that, put out a lot of different content to help you as a small business owner, to give you guidance and support on what to do during the incident response. The FBI has some great information on their side. The CISA organization is another great organization that has some amazing information that you can use in real time. I don't want to be a shameless plug. Our SBDC website has some great information and links and webinars that you can go back and look at as well. So, take advantage of that as well. Also, when something happened, the most crucial point in an incident is, if you couldn't prevent it, is doing the post-incident review. I can't stress that enough. That helps you identify the lessons learned. It also gives you areas of improvement on what you can do as far as improving your plan. And then also continuously updating that based on evolving threats, technology changes, and then lessons learned. So as there is a new event that's happening, you're starting to see different threats or different technology changes that you're using within your organization. Make sure you're updating that so that your incident response plan is reflective of that as well. Next slide. So what you can do as a small business owner is do your part, right? We talked about testing the plan at least on an annual basis or when a significant change occurs. Setting up automatic alerts on all your information systems so that can help with the detection piece. Implement a process to update and manage your incident response plan. Create a communications plan. Put together a documentation, a documentation folder. I also say print out the document as well. So if you can't get to it, that you'll have it in real time. And then keep it in 2 places. I keep a copy of my plans at home, and then I also keep a copy on site because sometimes I'm working remotely and things happen and I can be able to pull that out and keep it with me. If you can afford it, and if it's something that may be an additional resource that you can use, obtaining cyber risk insurance. I have it for my small business. Just because of the nature of the business that I am in, and also because of the type of data that I'm processing, storing, as just another way to be able to, assist me if there's something happening. Then when in doubt, consult with a security expert. They can help you determine the cause, the scope of something is happening, how to stop the breach. So if it's not your level of expertise, I always say consult if you need some additional help. But also the one most valuable tool that you can do is to plan ahead, right? Create a customized incident response plan specific to your company. Do your dress rehearsals. Make sure you have your processes and procedures down. Document in real time if something's happening, how you can customize that plan to make sure that it's meeting your specific customer base. Next slide. So I know I covered a lot in a small period of time. We have a few more slides. So yes, we talked about some of the resources that are available that are great. CISA Cybersecurity has training and exercises. They offer a lot of free online courses and resources for small businesses. The FTC Cybersecurity for Small Business is also a great one. They also provide educational materials, webinars, different guides. I like this one too, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, another great organization. They do a lot of webinars and different events during like the Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October, but they also keep the conversation going all year long. And then Department of Homeland Security also has a lot of resources, webinars, and tools to help enhance your cybersecurity posture, educate you on different tips and techniques to be able to protect your small business, help you put together some things. I know I threw out some different terms like a security plan. Like, what is that? That is very similar to your business plan, but it's outlining how to protect your business from a cybersecurity perspective. And then having a communications plan, that's an additional plan and you can have them all in one. But I've seen them, when people do them separately or just put them all in one, but make sure that you're documenting it. And then also having this wonderful incident response plan to help you be able to navigate what to do in the event of a data breach or an emergency. Next slide. So I know we covered a lot, but if you want to keep the conversation going, or if there's some additional questions you have that you want to say, hey, I do want to put together my incident response plan, but I may need some help or some tips, some tools, there's my email address. I think I've referenced the Virginia SBDC website that has a plethora of information as well. And then we also have an email, I think it's help@sbdc.org, that you can also email if you need some help as well. Any questions? I know I went over a lot in a very short period of time.
Yes,
but
you did cover a lot.
That
was a lot of good information. So far, we don't have any questions. A reminder, though, that you will get the slides with all these links, so don't worry about if you didn't copy things down. Let's see if we might have had a question drop in. Okay, we do have a question. What is the business owner's responsibility to their clients when they are breached, other than just notifying them?
So that's a great question. Depending on the type of business that you have and what regulations, dictate your business. I have some folks that like process credit cards. So there's a set of regulation with PCI. I have folks that are in, help do a lot of HIPAA data. And so there are some regulations for that. So there may even be some, penalties depending on the type of breach or how the breach happened. But I've seen where there has been incidents where there were things that were put in place. Like even I went through an investigation. I'll give you an example where a small business owner who was a subcontractor to a very large prime contractor, and they were a victim of an attack. And what saved them is that when the insurance company got involved and started doing a review of the case, the first thing they said, did you have a plan in place? Were your employees trained? Can you show proof that your employees were trained? Can you show proof that they were using HIPAA data, or all your employees, trained on, HIPAA compliance? Can you show, proof of those certificates? They also had cyber risk insurance. So all of those things, they were covered. And so they did give them some additional information about, this is the notification procedures because this was the breach also, touched this, and that. Not to give out too many details, but they were required to send out a notice to their stakeholders and also to their customers, letting them know that there was a breach, and that if there was, for some of their customers, some of their customer-facing clients, that they could be, they had to, put like a credit freeze on their account, or they were, they could do a credit monitoring that was actually going to be taken care of by the insurance company. So just to give you an example, that those type of countermeasures, once you have in place, protect you, one, as a leader, protect your business, protects your reputation, and also it just gonna gives your customers or even your stakeholders that level of assurance that, hey, they're taking my information seriously. I know when I'm on the other end of that, I'm always, happy to know that there have been steps taken to maybe, not make the situation worse than it could have been. Some things you can't prevent. I always say, just like, hackers are just like any other thief, right? You can put up all different types of things, but if they really want to get in and they really pursue it, there are ways to get in. But maybe if you had some things in place to maybe stop them, or, prevent them from like taking so many different things, maybe you keep your precious jewels in the freezer and they didn't think to look there. And maybe something as small as that, but you'd be surprised. It'd be those type of methods that can help you in the long run.
Great. So we have another question that's come in. Do you know of any concerns of small business owners in regards to the upcoming CMMC requirements for doing business with the DoD?
So great question. And I'm going to give a shameless plug. So our next webinar, we're going to be talking all through regulation. CMMC is a fairly new requirement, and it's really for folks that's doing business with DoD. Depending on there's several levels. So the first level, you just have to do something like a self-assessment, and the self-assessment, would be something like this: putting together a security plan, testing that security plan, putting together an incident response plan, laying out, how your business is securing, or, what's your, developing a cybersecurity posture. If there's level two, when you find that you do the self-assessment, hey, I do probably need to get, a third party involved. That's when you will hire a cybersecurity consultant to do an audit of your environment. So very similar to if you had similar audits with like a CPA, or maybe you had a bookkeeping company, keeping your books, and then you bring in a CPA or a forensics CPA to look at your books for whatever reason. It's the same type of concept. The only biggest concern I've heard from small business owners is, because like with any new requirements, there's always different changes. One great website that's been a wealth of knowledge is called Project Spectrum. And they kind of walk you through all the different levels of CMCC, and also give you some, free resources and things that you can put together to at least complete that self-assessment, and then prepare you if you need a third-party assessment.
Do we have any other questions while we have Quiana's brain to pick?
And when we send out the slides, I also include some more information about Project Spectrum as well for the CMMC folks, because I know that's a big one that for myself, even as a small business, I'm going through. I've went through the process as well. So very painless, but it's just another one of those check box. And the best way is the preparation and having certain things in place and putting together a plan and showing that, you put together something to create a healthy cybersecurity posture for your organization.
All right. So if we don't have any other questions, Quiana, if you have one more insight you want to share, and thank you. Someone is thanking you for
You're very welcome.
The answers and your information. I agree. It's
yes,
awesome.
Yes. So, in conclusion, the incident response plan is your key to making your small business resilient. It won't, keep things away, but it will prepare you in the event of emergency. It's like your seatbelt, right? The seatbelt will prevent in the event that there is a car accident. Depending on the nature of how the car accident, happens, there are other things. Maybe the airbag is also another way. So it's the same type of concept. So you want to err on the caution of being prepared and knowing what to do, and making sure that your folks and the people that work for you also are prepared as well. And so not just simply putting together that plan, but testing it and making sure that you're updating it and taking it out and, getting the dust out of it. And I had some folks that put something together and they don't look at it after they put it together. but it's the same concept. You want it to be a living document because it will help you in the event of an emergency.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for attending today. You will receive an email with a link to the recording as in the slides. There's one more reminder there. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we do hope to see you at our next session. Take care,
Yes.
everyone.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You. Bye.